Tabletop Weekly. We are the partners of Solarian Games.
Oh, I'm Jason.
Yep. And I'm Peter. And tonight our show's a little different. We're not going to be doing news and such. I mean, we're going to be talking about newsy type stuff. But right above me is Chet Minton, who's a artist. And then we have I'm sorry, Greg. Frank.
Oh, Craig. It's Craig.
God, I was gonna say Greg. I knew Greg was wrong.
Yes, because I'm doing the Brady Bunch moves, and you're like,
yeah.
here's the story.
It's not Greg.
Here.
It's Craig. You ever do that thing where like you go to say somebody's name, and it's not that you haven't forgotten it. The wrong name is popping in your head, and you don't want to say the wrong name, and that's where I was.
Yeah. This happens to me and my daughters all the time. Nice.
I do it with all three of my cats. I've always done it with them. I always start doing it. And the worst thing was the other day, I accidentally called my wife by one of my cat's names.
Oh, yeah. I had an aunt, and she had this thing where it was really weird. She would go through everybody's name until she got to yours, which was always last. And she would do this with each person in the room, like one right after the other. She'd be like, hey, George, Bill, Pete, you know, but she would hit every single
person. Hold on, but wait. We have a fifth member of the show right now over in Chet's window. Let's introduce the star.
Oh, wow.
So this is Dory. Okay, one of three of my cats.
Okay.
She is, say hello. No, you're there. Okay.
She's like, no, don't talk about me.
She got scared. I guess.
You're going super professional. Why don't we get into the professionalness of it all? So this week, we are not doing any stories because we have got two. What's the right word? Luminaries in the gaming world here.
Oh, yes.
So we have Craig from Black Oak Workshop, who also is a designer of one of my favorite board games of all time. I always harass him about that. And Craig, two Craigs. No, it's Chet Minton -artist. If you look at him on socials, who basically, if you go to a convention anywhere on the Eastern Seaboard, you're going to see his art. It's blowing up. It's everywhere. And did you do anything for North Texas this year?
Yeah. So I did a lot of artwork for their new module, the B series.
Oh, I saw that.
It was written by Mike Bottolato and Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson from Froey Games.
Mm-hmm.
He runs ShireCon, by the way. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's do this. We got Chet here to give us basically a rundown on this year's North Texas. Craig, did you go to North Texas?
I did not.
Do you ever?
No, I haven't been yet, but I keep getting told to go to the show.
You and me both. It's a long ways to go.
Yeah.
So we're going to start out with some North Texas wrap up, and then we're going to talk about the cool new Kickstarter that's just in time for Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you read the fine print.
Yeah. And you know, everybody here on the show is everybody on the show. We're all just one big happy family. Brady Bunch. Alice isn't here right now. Let's start. Chet, you got back from North Texas last week. What was it like?
Yeah, so North Texas is obviously one of my favorite cons to go to. I know I probably say that about every con, but this one is definitely a nice one. So they used to cap it at 500 people for pre-ticket sales, and then allow people to come in at the door afterwards. They've just increased it this year to 600, so we'll see how that is. I feel like this con it's a big small con, so it's very intimate. It's really focused on gaming, although they do have a nice vendor hall with a good ratio of vendors versus attendees, and then they have a lot of different special guests that run the gamut. So there's a lot of the well-known people that are there. And this year I was invited as a special guest, so I was very excited about that.
That's great.
As we had mentioned before, I got to do some of the artwork for their con module.
Let's bring that artwork up on the camera. And Chet, we got a lot of people who listen on audio afterwards. So hold it real slow so the picture gets up there. And let's just describe what you got going on here.
Okay, so this is basically a monochrome throwback homage to the early TSR modules. This one is an adventure that Mike Bottolato had been running at cons for about 5 or 6 years. Tom Wilson convinced him, hey, let's put this out as a module. So he finally did this year, and I got to do some of the artwork for them.
I saw bullywugs on there, I think.
Yeah, well, so these are supposed to be giant toads, but yeah, you can see like an influence of bullywugs. I did take some influence from Errol Otis and Tramp
Oh yeah, I
Bear.
see a real classic Errol Otis palette
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, yeah, and I tried to bring some of those great elements of the helmets and weapons. And if you look closely, you can see definitely like some of the items from other module covers. And I did do interior cover.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Look at
Wait,
that.
are those
that was
flies?
fun. That was actually a rejected back cover.
Were those flies?
So yeah, so I don't want to waste anything in the adventure, but throughout that, it was throughout the cavern when you're in the series, you're constantly being pestered by these insect like beetles that burrow into your skin, and really you can't get a full rest. You just can't heal well.
Oh
And
man.
so it's like an annoyance on top of everything else you have to deal with.
It's set in Georgia, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only place worse than Baltimore, Georgia. No, I'm only kidding.
Just to show I grabbed an original monochrome. Let's both hold ours up at the same time.
Sure.
No, both at the same time. There we go. So you can kind of see.
Yeah.
There's the homage.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is influenced by the Search for the Unknown.
Yep.
And they've done several of these continuations in that storyline. And I think this is the last one, according to Tom, is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least Tom wants to start working on something different.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's see. So you were a special guest. Who else was there this year?
So Eric Tankar was there. Bill and Ben Barsh from Pacesetter Games.
Hi Bill. Hi Ben.
Yep. Skeeter Green from Silver Belay. Ian McGarty from Silver Belay.
Oh wow,
Ian.
Rocky Gardner was invited. Unfortunately, there was some health issues, so he wasn't able to travel there this year. Unfortunately, Levi Combs was supposed to be a special guest. Also, some medical related stuff. Unfortunately, he couldn't arrive. Tom Wilson from Throwy Games is always a guest there, special guest there, and Greg Gillespie from oh my god, I just had a brain fart. From Borrow Maze. Who else? There was tons of them. I'm just drawing a blank now. Alan Hammock, TSR legend, obviously.
We know Alan.
Editor of Top Secret, both.
Yeah,
you
think.
And
yes, definitely. Yeah, we're gonna.
And also, Alan has put in some of the work on Hacknoia, which is another upcoming Top Secret spinoff, sort of in a way.
Yeah.
And talking about Top Secret, Merle was there, and always great to see him.
Was Merle on his birthday, or because he just had a birthday?
I think it was close to it. I don't know if it was on his birthday, but
I think he might have gotten home by the time he had his birthday.
And people gave him crap because he only wore his tuxedo on one day, and well, it's Texas and it's hot.
I saw something about that. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah. And he is one of the absolute nicest, friendliest people you can ever meet at a con.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I like about Texas is all these special guests, all the people that come to run games, everyone's really approachable, really nice. This whole industry is like that. I mean, you get your, jerks here and there,
In general, it's like that.
Sure. Yeah. But Texas, it's really good. And they weed out people that just don't, if they're a problem, they're not allowed.
Yeah.
Well, they got work to do if Skeeter was still there, man.
Well, Skeeter's on a short leash anyway. Yeah.
Skeeter's good people.
Yeah. Oh, Skeeter's great.
What about the auction?
So I missed the afternoon auction. I was supposed to go.
Well, now,
And
Chet,
then
you're usually pretty busy behind your booth,
so I didn't run a booth here at Texas.
Oh, good for you. You finally got
wow.
a chance to get out, huh?
Well, so there's 2 cons that I do, which are like my vacation, and one of them is Texas, where I just go and I go to play games and socialize, and I
Good.
mean I do talk to clients or discuss artwork, here or there, especially at the bar or what have you, and but this was just play some games and have a good time. So I didn't go to that only because I was invited by Tom Wilson to join one of his Shadow Dark games, and it's one of his modules that's going to be coming out this fall and as a Kickstarter, and its theme was around dwarves, and I had to be in it. So
Yeah. And Kelsey was there this year too, right?
Kelsey was there. Honestly, I only saw her a little bit. I believe they had her in a boardroom for some of the private games and special guest games. Yeah, well, no, I don't think she's really like that. I think it was just the way it was set up. But there were a lot of people who were getting their books signed and saying hello to her and stuff. And
Yeah.
I might have been in a lot of the games when she was going around the actual convention itself.
Kelsey's real good people. I mean,
Yeah.
always out there, talking to everybody, playing it up. If they put her in a private boardroom, it wasn't her fault.
Yeah, it was probably just for sound and noise and
well, I'm gonna just go down a tangent for just a second here about these whole private boardroom games, because it's something that has not been around forever, and it's a relatively recent development. I think in about the past 10 years or so, where this idea of a special game that you can go into, and it makes money for the conventions. And I mean, there's definitely players who are like, oh, it's really fun for me to get to play in a game with, back in the day, you could play with Jim Ward or, play with Ernie Gygax, God rest both of their souls. But I just feel like it kind of runs counter to the ethos of a place like North Texas. And I'm not saying like I would never do one and stuff like that. I'd like to hear everybody else's thoughts on those because they make me feel a little funny.
I understand what you're saying. I've seen that at other cons too, where you don't even get to see the special guest because they're in a boardroom or away from the entire con. I know in Texas they do have some of these boardrooms, but I do feel like they really get the special guests to go through the con, to be approachable, to be there for everyone. So I would say they're a little bit different than some of the other cons where you can't find the special guest unless you go to a special signing hour or what have you.
Yeah, I've been to some shows you didn't even know where the boardroom was. Yeah,
Right.
Sure.
I get it. It does have a bit of exclusivity to it. The only one that I have any exposure to is actually one Skeeter was involved in at Kazi, but that was very open and kind of like, hey, come in and check stuff out. It was a little bit different maybe than the others. I don't have
like at GaryCon, there's not even is it a boardroom. There'll be the what are those things called, the cabins or whatever you want to call them. This like completely separate buildings where are happening. Yeah. And it's because early on these were basically, hey, there's a group of friends that want to play. It had nothing to do with exclusivity. It was just a group of friends wanting to go somewhere and do something. And then, over time it turned into, hey, you can buy a triple platinum diamond gold badge and you can get to stare in the window and lick the frost as they play, for only $10,000.
Right.
So I don't know. But anyway, so that stuff all sounds good. You didn't get to go to the auction though.
So I went to the midnight auction, which is sort of a joke. They auction off ridiculous stuff. It's really just about donating money to the con that helps the con keep going. So they do it about an hour and a half. It used to be like 3 hours long, but they've definitely shortened it. And Mike dresses up as the devil. It's Satan's midnight auction.
That's cool.
Everyone gets into it, and there's a lot of fun. It's Saturday night, so the con is coming to an end almost. most people are going to participate in a Sunday morning game and probably disappear after that, unless you're hardcore and you stay to Monday like I love to do. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always try to play test new games. I play tested one, which was Horde Wars.
Ooh.
Oh, cool. Really
It
cool.
was really fun, actually.
What is that?
There was some game mechanics. So it has a feel of old school and 5th edition mixed, but they have some different types of ways of rolling. It's a D12 system, which James Carpio would have
We
absolutely
love
loved.
the D12 around here.
Me too. That was one of the things that James and I shared was our love for the D12.
Yeah, and they really do a really good job at this with this one. I don't know if I would play it or run it, but they had a lot of great ideas that I would definitely pilfer from. Me personally,
so since it's called Horde Wars Advanced, like the first things I'm imagining is it's going to be old school, because the word advanced usually is a bit of a signal, right?
Sure.
Right.
Horde Wars makes me think it's going to be something kind of Warhammer kind of battle system.
That's what they had originally set it up as.
Okay.
Was large groups fighting each other, and then it was originally a sci-fi game.
Oh.
And they felt it was getting a bit complicated, and so they said for a broader appeal, they simplified it and made it fantasy, and they developed their world from there. And it's a campaign type setting, but there are elements in it where you can, direct troops. There's an element of crusades and that type of night warlords directing troops and that thing and that sort of thing.
Who did it?
I'm
Anybody
sorry,
you know, or
the names.
some cool new person?
Is it
So I don't know.
I'm looking this up.
Re-
Is it Blackwall Games?
So yes, it's Blackwall Games,
Okay.
and so it was Todd Ridizem and Nathan Lindy.
Okay. I mean, they could be total veterans for decades, and I just didn't know, or they might be new to the scene. But it's new names to me, which I
new. I'm going to say they're newer. I would say in their 20s. They're young guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so fun.
Are they based in Texas, or because I like I said,
they're in Michigan, so they were at Chaosium. They're going to be at Page also, so you could probably see them next year.
Okay.
Swing by their small booth.
Great.
And then I also picked up the Gamma World book Tom Wilson just put out.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
He released it in tandem with North Texas.
Infestation.
Yeah, I like the name.
Oh, that's a great name. Infestation.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, and I feel Tom Wilson is an underappreciated writer and creator.
Let's appreciate him, man.
Yeah, no, I always get his stuff, and I think he doesn't get enough attention. I think it's because he doesn't self-promote enough, which is hard sometimes for us to do.
Yeah. That actually is the hardest thing. I want to make that a topic right now for a second, because I know I'm guilty of that. And it's so hard. I can promote everybody else to the ends of the earth, all the people that I think are great. But if it's about my own stuff, I'm like, oh, you don't want to hear none of this.
Right.
Yeah.
but everybody here's got to do it. I mean, Craig, how do you feel about it?
Self-promotion, I'm absolutely horrible at it. Oh my god, dude. We're a word of mouth company because I don't I'm just not good at doing that. Now we're working with a young lady that's helping us now who's phenomenal. And my wife has done an incredible job like on our Instagram and stuff. But before she took over, I had 14 followers, if that tells you anything. So I was like, yeah, you and I are very much of the same mind on that one, Jason. I'm just awful at it. I'm not I mean, I could talk to this can all night, but I'm not really good about talking up myself.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good time doing all of this, but going out there and sending out 15 Instagram posts every week and sending
Yeah.
emails out. I always imagine that as soon as every time I send an email, somebody's going to go, oh, these guys again. So
Exactly.
wait.
That's exactly how I feel. So when I have to sit down and type up these marketing emails, which I send out maybe 3 a year, it's like pulling teeth. I just it doesn't come natural.
Yeah, you're pretty good at it, Chet.
I've had to learn to be better, and I have a lot of areas where I need to improve, but I think you have to learn how to detach yourself from what you're doing and just say, I'm putting my ego aside. I've got to say, okay, I'm not going to try to sound like I'm full of it. I just got to present what I have, and reach certain people, and there's different avenues of doing that. But it is hard. I've learned that associating myself with different conventions and doing artwork for them has really worked for me, for self-promoting me as an artist. And I usually do trade of service where I get a free table, or sometimes I get a full boat where I'm brought in and get a room board and a booth. So yeah, it's been effective. I definitely need areas of improvement. Like I think we all do, but sometimes it is hard to be able to step out of yourself and be like, this is a business, this is an avenue I need to do in order to put myself out there.
Yeah,
It's good. It's a good strategy.
I always find the hardest part of it for me, it's not so much talking up about the things that we do, because we do some great stuff, and I'm proud of it. It's the time. So much time goes into that. Like,
It becomes another job.
yeah, I mean, you got to have some kind of visual, so some kind of graphic or whatever. And Chet, that's no issue for you because you're a great artist. So definitely above third tier. You're a great artist, and if you want to draw up something, or you take one of your drawings, and I mean, that's what you're usually showing. You're showing something very visual.
Yeah.
For us, I mean, unless we have artwork that we've already had done for our book or something, it's going to be a little more difficult because, Jason and I, we're writers and creators. I could put words up, but that's not very exciting.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a designer, I can do great design, but if I don't have art to work with, then it's extra difficult.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing, Chet, you nailed it though when you're saying kind of put your ego out of it. So it's something I've been dealing with, not just promoting this, but just in general. So talking to my therapist, one of the biggest things that I was like, why am I having all these issues? And he's like, well, every time you deal with something, you're always like, what do they think of me? What do they think of me? And he's like, just get yourself out of the picture. Just take yourself and just put them somewhere else. It's nothing to do with you. And I've got some tools to get better at it, but I think that is the biggest thing, is you've got to remove yourself from it. The way I always say it is, all these things that I need to do, whether it's promoting myself or whatever else it is in my life, if you gave me like a Sims character, I could make the little Sim character do it. Just let your little Sim do it, basically. Yeah.
I had to have an intervention because of Sims, so let's not talk about that. Playing that too much. It is really a mindset. You've got to develop a mindset where you're promoting your product, and then just worry about it later. What people think or make fun of you. It's like half the time you're not even going to know what they're saying anyway. There's always going to be trolls anyway, but you're going to see the results as people check out your stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Craig, you wanna feel good? You want a little bit of an ego boost?
Yeah, I'll take that.
All right. So Ed Lopez. So we have our chat going on. So I monitored our chat.
Oh.
He says, I went to the Black Oak booth at GaryCon to replace one of their dice bags that had broken after like 5 years. Craig wouldn't let me pay for a replacement. He made a customer for life.
That's really cool. Well, thank you, Ed. I think I may even remember this interaction. I try and do that. A funny story there. Chuck Cumbaugh's, I've had to replace one of his dice bags like 3 times. That dude is hard on a dice bag, but I am good to him.
Just done bourbon out my nose.
I am good. I am good to him. He's an awesome guy too. So
Hey, this is a good segue. Let's talk about what you have coming up. So before we talk about what your latest Kickstarter is and what you have coming up, let's just kind of talk about Black Oak and your game designing career and all of that, because so I'm a fan. I'm just a fan.
Thank
right?
you.
I always come by. I always got to buy some dice. My favorites are the cat dice, of course.
Cool.
Of course. I get an advent calendar every year, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But the funniest thing was, so we have a mutual friend, Jolly Blackburn.
Oh yeah.
And Jolly knows what my favorite board game in the world is. And I don't think you and I have met. We were at one of the parties. I think it was at one of the parties in Lake Geneva. And Jolly was just like, hey, you know that favorite board game that you won't shut up about? Well, here's Craig. He did this thing. So I'm gonna blow your horn for a second. So there's this game. It's called The Great Space Race. Somebody brought it to Gary Con one year and just said, we were just playing it in between things. And it was just such a raucous good time that I was like, I have to get a copy of it. And at that point, it was already out of print. So
yeah.
I just started running around and grabbing every copy I could. So if I lose some parts, I'll have some extra parts. And then, Jolly was like, hey, Craig, this is Jason. Jason, this is Craig. And, introduced us at a, I think it was a party full of whatever those cinnamon bourbons are, the cinnamon whiskeys are.
Oh, the red. Oh, yeah.
Fireballs or something.
Fireballs. Yeah. Fireballs.
So that was before you did the dice, was the board gaming stuff, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Actually, before that, I was a cartographer for many years, going back into the 90s, early late 90s. Did cartography for a lot of different people during the late second edition, and then Rise of third edition. Did a lot of work, and then eventually was trying to do board games, and did the space race and worked on several other designs, which are over there. Yeah, that way. Black Oak. I actually started Black Oak to understand manufacturing better, and to attempt to do manufacturing direct, to actually self-publish board games. That was the original. One of the original motivations behind Black Oak Workshop, but that thanks to Jolly, he's like, dude, do some dice. And I was like, dude, that's a good idea. So
everybody loves dice.
Yeah, and just so I that was a good way to take a baby step towards understanding manufacturing and building partnerships overseas.
But I'm going to ask you about that with the dice, because there are a ton of dice makers in the world and companies, but there's very few that stick out in my head, right? Like everybody knows ChessX because they're the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
But
Game Science.
Well, that's where I was going to go next. Exactly. But the two that if I'm thinking dice that I will specifically seek out, like not just I'm at a con, these are really cool, I'll always buy some cool, math rocks. But for years, anytime Lou Zacci was someplace, I'd run over and get some more dice from Lou. Yeah. And then as soon as I started seeing Black Oak show up, there was just something about the dice that were in there that just, was just a gravity pull. And I don't know how a person makes dice stand out, but you've done it somehow. Why was that a forte for you?
Well, I guess two things. I mean, I always felt like if you want to go back to cartography again, I remember the early days of cartography. It was a functional type of art. It was still art. But when I started doing maps, I thought, man, these could be, you could really express yourself creatively here. It can kind of break away from these blue lines. And I spent quite a bit of time doing that. I loved doing that, making maps art and not just functional. And now the entire industry is that way now, right? But Diesel and some of the other early cartographers, Diesel's a great guy. Yeah, we all, I mean, I came into that little stable of folks later. At the tail end of that,
I'm just going to call one thing out specifically. Anybody who only thinks of Diesel for his art, go look at the maps for the Top Secret Adventure Orient Express And the
Oh,
ones that
nice.
you did, Diesel did the train maps for that, and they're just an unbelievable work of art. Some of the
Yeah,
best. Yeah.
he's phenomenal. He was a bit of an influence, and with dice, it wound up being the same way. I really like doing two-dimensional stuff, and I knew in the beginning we couldn't afford to do 7 die molds or anything like that. It was just a little bit out of reach,
Oh.
and so I spent quite a bit of time thinking about how to make a single die interesting, and what could I do that would be different, still represent you know a random number generation, but hey, why can't we do something creatively here? And other people were doing that, okay, but I really wanted to focus on what we could do with that, at least early on, 16 millimeters of space. And our first die was the Bullseye Arrow D6, where we went with sort of a Robin Hood theme and put a number of arrows into a target, and it worked out. It was really I do not have one anywhere near here, but they're over there too. But and it
I
kind
was
of
so
went from
late
there.
getting to the show. I was about to bring like a bucket of Black Oak dice and a copy of the board game, and I'm like, I had no time.
Yeah.
I get
But
it.
if you ever see our booth, you'll see those roots go really, really deep into what everything that we do. We focus on seeing, of course, we're making sets now. But if you look at our treasure chests at our show, they're filled up with these single dice. And that's because I've developed a passion for trying to put themes or creative ideas into these shapes. And I spent almost every waking moment thinking about cool ways to,
Like the
you know,
the Fang dice,
which one?
the Fang dice, the
Oh
vampire.
yeah,
Those,
the Fang D4s, and I mean, there's just any number of things, and of course we just go with themes too.
I love those D4s that have like the theme. I guess the fangs like that have the theme on 3 of the sides, and then the 4th side has the numbers, but it
Yeah.
doesn't include I get, what is it, the 4 or the 1 or whatever
It's
number it is.
well, the
it's the
fangs are a
fours.
different shape.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a totally different shape. Sadly, I
Okay.
don't have one up here.
Also, so I bought a set of those because I love the 4-sided so much, because it was a skull, like it was a skull on
Yeah.
it. And then you were telling me that people actually would also use the dice as markers on a map, and I thought that was genius. Like they had the torch ones, right? So if somebody dropped the torch, you could take your D4 because it was a torch on it, and you could set that down on the map, and that's where your torch was. Or if somebody died, you could take your D4 with the skull on it and put it down on the map, and that's where someone had died. And I was like, oh, that is actually really brilliant. So I have, I bought a set of dice because I don't know, they were cool looking, so I had to.
Well, the campfire D4 was the first one that we did. It was from Adventure Calendar to Grimwood Glade. And in that one, so we do the sets in there, and we don't have to talk about those all night, but in a calendar, it'll have a certain number of chambers, and based off that, you would have a certain number of 7-die sets. So if a 24 chamber counter, you have 3 7-die sets, is 21. So this leaves this overage of chambers, and that's where I just said, hey, I can go back and work on some of these singles. And the campfire is one that I wanted to put in there. It was a very kind of Mirkwood vibe. And I just remember reading about Bilbo and the dwarves sitting around the campfire late at night with the moths, and and I was like, dude, we gotta do a campfire. And ultimately, it became that D4. At some point, I was working on the art, and I was like, well, why are these stupid numbers in the way? So freaking annoying, dude. I was like, God damn it! And then and then I realized, I was like, yeah, why do you actually need those on there? And I was like, you don't. And I was like, so so anyway, it went from there, and we don't do tons and tons of them. We do them in all the adventure counter sets, for sure.
Let's go there for a second, because as far as I know, you invented the idea of an adventure, an advent calendar.
Adventure calendar, yeah.
People have ripped off the idea poorly, but I think you invented it.
I would say 2 things on that. We were the first to produce one and put it in the market. I strongly suspect somebody was probably making advent counters with dice, like on Etsy and stuff like that.
Okay.
If I had to guess,
like sort of a handmade, you can just kind of get.
Yeah, that's something like that. No other dice company was making them.
No.
That would be the first thing. We did the first one in 2019. And the second thing is I would love to sit here and say, oh, I thought of this idea. But I'm going to tell you who thought of this idea, and we were drunk or about to get drunk.
That's a good start to every story.
Yeah, yeah. But I remember this day. It was such a good weekend. It was with Jolly Blackburn, and he just looked at me. He's like, "Dude," because every sentence that we say to each other,
Is
apparently
dude,
starts
right?
with dude. But he's like, "Dude," she's like, "You should." He's like, "You should do." He'll do like this. He's like, "You should do an advent calendar with dice," and he's like, "You could really put a lot of these creative ideas into one broader theme." And I was like, that's a really good idea. And we spent like the next 2 days talking about it off and on. And I think it was actually a year later before I could put one together, because I just looked at it as like, oh, that's impossible. And but it took quite a bit of time. And then we rushed it production. And that was Adventure Calendar 1.
Yeah.
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 But Jolly, I got to give credit to Jolly.
Okay. We'll give. So Jolly is the progenitor.
Yes, that's right. And
You have to start talking to Jolly more.
Yeah, get some more ideas, right?
You got to be careful there. You talk to that dude too much. The next thing you know.
Hey, Chet, as long as you start the conversation with dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I've got some alcohol. Let's talk.
Right.
There are two ideas that have kind of become viral in the dice cool ideas world. One of them is the advent calendar, and the other one was the dice jail. Because I remember the first person who did a dice jail wasn't that long ago. It was about 2012 or 13. And then within a couple of years, everybody was copying it. And I felt so bad because I don't remember who did the first ones. I have some of the ones that she did, but it was just a local creator. And, now that concept has been kind of gone all over the place. So we'll have to find out who did that and make sure they get credit too, because it's a shame. I want people to know who come up with the ideas. But yeah, there's other people done dice advent calendars, but they don't have the high concept. They don't have the adventure stuff with them. And of course the quality of the dice. So you've got one coming for the next advent, right?
Yes. We actually, and it sounds like a sales pitch. It's not meant as a sales pitch, but I am proud to talk about them, and I'm so proud that you guys like them. And real quick before I tell you about that, I got to tell you, Chet, that sticker that you have right there on your box is right on the back side of this laptop. It would be Bilbo.
Here, yeah,
dude, I love that. I bought that from you, Paige. So anyway, I just want to say,
the Rankin Bass pull people right over to the table. Yeah,
love it, dude. But yeah, this year we typically, our first year we only did one calendar, and then right after that the reception was so strong, and I wanted to do a Halloween themed calendar really bad. I said, you know what, we're going to do 3 calendars. We'll do a Christmas themed calendar for traditional Advent if folks want to do that. We'll do a 31 chamber Halloween calendar, and then we'll also do another 24 chamber calendar that could be for anything, anything. For it doesn't have to be Advent, it could just be whatever countdown. So this year we have our 3 coming again, which are 17, 18, and 19, which are Atomic Age.
Love it.
The Castle of Ultimate Death. You have to say it like that. The Castle of Ultimate Death. Yeah.
And you have to always be playing Motorhead Killed by Death in the back.
Dude, you totally get it. Totally get it. When I was talking to my wife about this calendar, I was like, it's got to be totally metal, but it didn't get quite there. Some of the dice I wanted to do for it that were really down that path. In the end, we just weren't able to do them. Not all ideas are we able to do. But we got some cool stuff in there, man. Some cool stuff. And then Kitty Clack's Christmas, of course. That was a fan request, and
that's what we're going for here in this household.
Yeah, it's I'm excited about it. It's got some cool stuff. We're revisiting the present D6, which went way back in an earlier adventure counter. We're doing it in a different color scheme. But kind of the story of it is the cats destroy Christmas, and it's like, so it's like, oh, we gotta have some presents out there. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. The response to the themes has been good. Sometimes you think you have a great idea, and then when it comes out, you're like, dude, they just didn't like it as much as I thought they would. And it's like,
Well, so let's talk about the manufacturing side of it, because that is, here we are talking about a Christmas Kickstarter, basically, right? And we're not even barely into the summer. Is it summer yet? I don't even know.
It is in Georgia.
But I mean, I think
week or
summer
two from now?
start to
Yeah.
mid.
No, it's got about another week before it,
Yeah,
before
so it's
summer
not even summer yet.
officially
Yeah.
starts.
And but that's because a lot of people don't realize all of the logistics, all of the timing that goes into doing all this stuff. I had on my to-do list, I put a thing that said by February 1st of this year, I had to decide, are we going to try to do an advent calendar for Top Secret? And if so, get started. And we were about to get started on it, and then all of the tariffs hit. And I'm like, I don't think we can figure it out this year. We're going to have to make it 2026. It's just going to have to be, it's going to have to wait. So like, you now have this pipeline kind of planned up ahead. So for people who don't really understand the manufacturing intricacies involved, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is a great question, because I really like that side of it. I was a project manager for the better part of 20 years before I jumped off the bridge, as it were.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Harrowing. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Harrowing. Yeah, and I needed to understand manufacturing, and I learned all that before I left my job, before I left the day job. It was probably 3 or 4 years into the company.
Were you project managing like physical products, software products? What I mean,
software in the end, communications on the satellite side for first 15 years or so, and then over in software development and healthcare on the tail end. Never anything physical. Well, installation and some of this stuff.
But you know how to make a roadmap.
What's that?
You know how to make a roadmap.
Oh yeah.
3 quarters ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so it took a while to find partners, because I didn't want to go through anyone. There are a lot of companies that provide these types of services as a go-between. Ultimately, I'm working with a couple of different partners, one of whom is a go-between. Regardless, but it took me a while to find the right company. That was probably the most challenging part, was finding people there that you could communicate with, there meaning China, and that also they would understand your concept. I found they're very accommodating people. That sounds like I'm all Chinese people. It's not like that, but the ones
you're talking about, no, I get it. You're talking about the factories that do this, and
yeah, exactly.
I know that factory culture that you're talking about. And
exactly.
If you get the right company, they're good at helping you out. Yeah,
and they don't want to let you down, and they can do everything. Yes, we can do this. Yes, and then you find out, well, they can't really do it, and that's very expensive, and it costs a lot of time and money to eventually find the right people that I could work with that got it. Some of whom have been right here at this table a few times as they come here for other reasons, other businesses that they're working with here in the States. And once I found them, though, then we were able to begin to do some real creative and cool things, and begin to learn the manufacturing side. So yeah, touching on that, there is a think of it as like a pipeline. We're always working on projects that enter that pipeline, and there's projected timelines for how long it takes to do X or Y, and certain things will feather into that pipeline at a certain time to pair up with the schedule, right? So yeah, we're running our Kickstarter right now, and we're June 15th. We have about two and a half weeks, something like that, to go on the project. But we are way behind. And I need to qualify that with anybody's backing. We're not behind on our schedule. Our schedule is good, but normally to mitigate risk, we would start this project much earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to let that get away from us. And when we felt like we had developed solutions to allow us to move forward, we immediately kickstarted. So
how are the tariffs affecting you, or the threats of certain tariffs?
You see all that liquor up there? There's not as much as there should be. Well, like a lot of folks, right? It's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And yeah, I mean, so we're working with our partners overseas, like so many other companies. I mean, it's better now than it was. Okay, around February or March, I mean, I was
Yeah.
in a challenging place. So how is it affecting us? It's increasing our costs ridiculously. I mean, in the spring, late winter and spring, there's no viable way to make the company work anymore, frankly, unless you completely alter what it is that you're doing. A lot of folks out there, hopefully, with everything that's happened, maybe they're a little bit more educated on the topic, but or hey, why don't you produce in the United States?
Just
And
magically wave a wand.
Yeah,
yeah,
just
and
why don't you just do that?
yeah, let me answer that question.
Why don't
Get
all
on a
these homeless
soapbox.
people just buy houses?
Yeah, I'll tell you why I can't produce in the United States, and that's because companies like Nike 35, 40 years ago took manufacturing overseas to get lower labor costs, and it became quite fashionable, large corporations. And over about 10 to 20 years, the Chinese were able to develop a huge manufacturing base there, and they became quite good at it, despite what everybody always says. Um, and those companies made literally billions and billions of dollars in profits for their shareholders, and that's great. But in so doing, they killed a lot of manufacturing in the United States and a lot of other things with related to trade regulations. It's all this other stuff. Okay, cool. But the manufacturing skills and capabilities and equipment, they are no longer here. When I grew up, I knew people that were the guy that worked on the pump down at the shoe plant or whatever, what have you, right?
Right.
These people, these skill sets don't exist here now.
And
And
the trouble is, those skills have to be passed down. You know, it's an apprenticeship kind of world.
that's
So
right.
if everybody who had all the skills retired back in the 90s, then even if a bunch of, let's say you've got a bunch of high school grads that go, no, I'm not going to go to college, I'm going to go into this, there's no one to teach them. And then
Yes.
even if there was someone to teach them, all of the good equipment is 6,000 miles away. You know, I was listening to a manufacturing expert talk about he owns a bunch of factories over in China, and so they came to the United States and said, let's see what we can set up. And they were just like, why is everybody's equipment 50 years old?
Right.
Why,
Yeah.
you know, what's going on over here?
Yeah. And even if you could produce it here, I know that there's a lot of talk about, hey, we need to, make this happen here again, and then things will be good. Just the idea of manufacturing suddenly coming back here. I mean, it took the United States of America a long time to put this huge manufacturing base that we had in place here, right? In a war to really ramp it up. And it
Yeah,
took
that's, I
the
think, the
Chinese.
thing is that there was a couple of things you wouldn't want again to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the Chinese have gotten very good at it, and we have gotten. I don't want to say we've gotten bad at it, but it's just not here, and it's not going to come back here without massive investment on the side of the U.S. government. In my opinion, is through tax incentives to encourage folks to bring these type of things back into the country, and then companies that want to do it.
In small ways. So, for example, Stephen Chenault with Frog God is building a printing plant. So, you know, there's small things you can do here or there.
Yes,
But setting up complete tooling and machining and all of that, that's a whole nother story. So
it is. As soon as you move away from paper.
Certain supplies and demands, and people are hesitant actually to invest because we go back and forth with the tariffs. Oh, are they on? Are they off? So
that's
the instability of the
you
market.
need predictability.
Yeah. So apologies, Chet. I mean, but to answer your question, it's been very challenging financially. It's better than it was. We're working with them to find creative solutions. I mean, to try and not beat the tariffs, but to try and work around and be compliant to try and get to lower tariff levels. And then also looking at maybe different products. But it's been very challenging. This will absolutely be the most difficult year for our company, without a doubt, since I've been in business. So.
Oh, hey, real quick, Simon Harding was asking, weren't many of those roles on the verge of being replaced by automation anyway? And I'll chime in first with the yes and no. Like that's a very complicated question. In some ways, yes, but in a lot of ways, no.
Well, the
'cause-
machines can start doing more things, but you
Yeah.
still need the machine operator.
yeah. I mean, it just
You might not need 5 machine operators, maybe you need 1. But the point is, whether you have 5 or you have 1, that person still has to have been brought up in the trade. They have to understand it. There has to be a lot of infrastructure there to do it. There's always going to be machines that make things faster and better, and that's good. Some of them are going to be silly. I saw one the other day. Somebody claimed to have invented a pizza robot, but it turned out just to be a sauce squirter that was terrible. It was very
well, I interviewed, so back in the days when I had Mythwits, I interviewed a guy who was his job was to help companies move into the future. So he was involved in all the automation type stuff, and his goal was to help companies over the next, say, 10 years or whatever. How do I make sure I'm cutting edge? So he spent a lot of time, going over to China and seeing what they're doing over there. And he said that, most people get this thought that, Chinese people buy stuff from the Chinese because it's cheap labor. And he said, that's not actually true. He's like, that is a misnomer. He's like, they actually make decent salaries. He's like, they're just the kings of automation. He's like, their automation is superior to everyone else's in the world.
Yes,
So,
I'm so glad that you said that. That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, I don't know. You can bring up examples of this facility or that. We work with good factories. I don't know of anybody in this industry that does not. With people that are making working wages, I think they just have cheap labor from the concept of they're making less money than we make here, right? And then there's this huge disparity in,
right.
But
that yuan buys more than the dollar, there. And if you want to ever just think about the quality, just think, what are the 2 of the highest quality products you can think of in the world? And that would be the iPhone, manufactured to incredible precision, and a Volvo, one of the safest, most well-built cars in the world. Both of those are built in China.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to sound like someone's just touting China. Hey, I remember as a little boy, we had multiple factories right here in my little town that we live in. Hey, it would be cool if they were here. There were good jobs there. I'm not somehow like down with bringing manufacturing back here. I just wish more people would understand that it's not like you just say, oh, well, I'm a guy that makes dice in China, I should just make them here. That's not possible. And they're like, well, why don't you just start your own factory that makes your dice? And I'm like,
just do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I can't buy one of these. Just the tooling alone, the equipment is insane. It's so expensive.
All you need is about 1 to 2 million customers annually, and you'll be fine.
Right? Exactly.
Why don't you just do that?
Just do that. Come on, Craig.
Dude,
stop being so lazy, dude.
Get 2 million customers.
I tried gnawing dice. I've gnawed dice out of soup when I was in prison.
Hey, well, here's a comment in from the chat from Wes Blair. Welcome, Wes. Black Oak Workshop, official dice maker of Radio Free Muncie.
Yes. Radio Free Muncie, those scoundrels. Yes, we are the official dice manufacturer, dice sponsor manufacturer for Radio Free Muncie.
I got to give Jolly the biggest props I got to give him is that very few people can actually create a world that other people live in.
Yeah.
That people actually have it in their heads and they can envision it, and they know the people, and that he's done that.
Oh yeah, he's a marvel. I mean, the guy's incredible. He's a creative genius. He's one of the best 2 problem solvers I ever met in my life. He's very good at coming up with great solutions, but he's just so creative, and his breadth of work is insane. I've been looking at some stuff from an upcoming issue that you send over, and I'm just so I look at it, I'm just like, dude, you're just incredible, and the mark you've left on this industry is.
This is the thing I love most about this hobby/industry that we're in, is that you get to interact with people who are just the most amazing creators. The things that Jolly's created. There's I don't know if you know about Joey Royale we had some of his stuff recently, the Weird Heroes of Public Access. He's creating this whole kind of world of Fairhaven that nobody's seen anything like it before. It's really gratifying to me to see these world builders in every sense show up. And I just don't think there's another industry or hobby that has this breadth of creativity in it.
I think you're 100% right. I love, and I don't know if I can shut up and let other people, but I just love seeing the creatives in this industry. And doesn't know anybody trying to make it work in this industry. I mean, I love to seeing the artists and I mean, Chet. I mean, I love seeing your studio behind you, man. I love seeing how many of us are able to contribute now, and I know there's a growth in I don't say the popularity of these games, etc. Right?
There is, though.
And I know, but Kickstarter really helped fuel a lot of this ability to empower people like myself and Chet and others here to take our ideas and bring them forward. Back in the 80s, you had to get a second mortgage, right, or something, and take that chance.
Oh, yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Shout out right there to Luke from Torchbearer, who was the head of games for Kickstarters for so many years, and that I think he personally did a lot to get this whole industry moving, in the way that he promoted that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Chet, I just wanted, for anybody who's not watching on video, for the audio folks, what's behind you right now is an actual proper drafting table.
Yeah.
I was thinking that earlier.
I pulled that. So I used to work in printing for about 25 years, and they were throwing away these light tables, architect drawers, just getting rid of them. And they were from the 60s. So they're heavy, solid metal. And I asked my boss, I was like, can I take some of these? I want one of the drawers and one of the light tables. And he's like, you got to get it out of here today. And at that time, I didn't have a car. We were juggling cars and stuff like that. And I ran over to Home Depot and rented a van and threw that stuff in there. And man, I came home. My wife said,
"What a score!"
Hell.
so it's interesting because, like, so Chet, you have a drafting desk, and Craig, you worked as you did cartography type work. I actually started my career. So the first, 20 years of my career was as a draftsman. Now I was a CAD draftsman, but I started as a hand draftsman because I started in the industry in 1990, and I went to a school here in Maryland.
Old man.
Yes, yes, I am old. Specifically in Baltimore, is a school called Baltimore Polytechnic, and it's an engineering and science prep school. And so when you graduate from there, you are a classically trained draftsman. Every student is. Amazing. So I actually went and worked as a hand draftsman for several years. So that table is very familiar to me. I spent, days leaning over, years leaning over one of those tables, drafting away.
It's really cool. I wanted to be a draftsman when I was a kid.
Yeah. Did you watch the TV show Good Neighbors, or I think it was called The Good Life? Both names, where the main character, he was a draftsman, and I think that's what made me love those from the beginning. I watched it when I was a little kid, and it would start out and he's there, scratching away on it. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it was good. I liked drafting, but I mean, you can only make so much money doing it, so I had to move on to had to move up, as it were. But I would be happy just staying as a draftsman personally, but there's just not enough money in it. And now it's all computer drafting, so there's no hand draftsman left anymore. It's a little sad.
Yeah,
I took quite a few different drafting classes when I was in school because I was trying to find how am I going to apply my artwork, and I did medical illustration and mechanical engineering and mechanical illustrations,
right.
And I was like, I don't want to do either one of these.
And I should point out again that there is a bunch of anatomical.
Sure. Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at it once in a while, as an artist or a creator, sometimes you have to step back and go, I think I know what something looks like, but why don't I look at it? And then sometimes you're like surprised, like, oh, I envisioned this totally incorrect.
Chet,
like,
while we
wow.
are looking at people's what's in their rooms, this is not, obviously I see a bunch of plastic toys above there. Do I
Oh, the
see
dinosaurs?
is there one of the rust monsters up there? Are those some of those original toys?
Those are Schleich dinosaurs.
Okay.
So I do have some Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I don't have the rust monsters.
Right. You know the ones
obviously I used to, but
that were not actual Dungeons and Dragons things. They were just regular toys that you could buy at the 5 and 10 store.
Sure.
That were the inspiration for them. I thought maybe that's what you had up there.
I see the one you're talking about,
I've
Jason.
spent many hours going to Michael's or something like that, and my wife's like, "Where is he?" And I'm going through all the little toys, all the dinosaurs, all the monsters, and the little spinny things there for the kids, and I'm pulling out ones, and she's like, oh, "Here we go again." And I've got a basement full of Tupperware boxes with different toys and stuff.
I know the feeling because now that we've finally, I believe, gotten our car chase rules dialed in for Top Secret, I've realized how cheap Hot Wheels cars are, and every time I'm at the dollar store, I come home with another handful of Hot Wheels.
How hard is it to find the vans?
You know, I really had to search for that because, Chet, what you're talking about is that our next adventure is called Damn Good Minivan.
What? That's awesome.
So we've been running the conventions. The agents are undercover as PTA moms in Des Moines, Iowa.
Oh my God, that is so cool, dude.
So they get a tricked out minivan as their main thing. And I'll tell you, it was kind of hard. I managed to find a Dodge in Matchbox cars. I managed to find a Dodge Caravan, a Plymouth. Dodge Caravan, a Pontiac Transport, and a Toyota Previa. Three of my. I'm going to tell you, I unapologetically, unironically love minivans. I love them. They're like, to me, they are like the automotive equivalent of a shuttlecraft off of the Enterprise. You know, you can trick those things out. You have so much fun. So that's our new adventure. You got lots of tricked out vans, and you're right, Chet. I've been searching everywhere because minivans are not so popular as Hot Wheels. Go figure.
No.
Well, I would have to say, so I was next to Solarian Games at Rising Phoenix, a con up here in Massachusetts, above us in Massachusetts, and you had run a play test of that.
Yeah.
And you guys had shut down for the night, and people came over to your table, and they were like, because I always stay open late.
Yeah, you do.
Because
you work hard.
Because that's what I do. But anyway, I think you guys went out to dinner, and people came over, and they had just played it, and they couldn't get enough of it. So they were really excited about it. So
yeah. See, minivans are cool. I know.
Yeah, they are.
I'm on the cutting edge.
I want to see a minivan now, painted up in Galileo shuttlecraft Galileo colors. You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
No, you're not far off because I had a Nissan Quest in real life that had like the skylight roofs and it had all these kind of things, and I was always thinking, that was the livery I wanted to paint it in.
Cool.
But, and maybe I'll get another one someday and do it because minivans, man, that's where it's at.
So I mentioned before to you guys, you know, I had been going back and forth thinking about getting a cargo van as my regular vehicle. One thing I would love to do is trick it out with the old 70s kind of painting on it. Or my artwork on the side. Yeah.
You know, the old conversion.
I know a good artist that can do that for you.
Sure.
Chet.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
You got to put a bubble window though, like in the back, even though it's
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Chet, because you know it's got to be airbrush.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With your airbrushes.
Yeah. And that's self-promotion right there, driving around the streets.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. Yeah, you do that. We'll have to do like a web series, you know. There'll just have to be nothing but just following you around in your
well, we could do a cross country.
Yeah.
Trip.
We could go to different cons in Chet's, tricked out van.
Okay, that would be cool.
There we go. I've been everywhere, man. We could play that in the back.
I've been every con, man.
David Benavides in the chat says wizard. hard. He's
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
all the A's and R's and D's in it.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Well, let's make sure we get our plugs in here
Yeah.
for the night. So, Chet, first, where can people find your art? I mean, are you still taking commissions? What's the world of Chet like right now? Where do they go? What do they see?
So to find my artwork, I have an online portfolio that also has links to my different storefronts and different products. ChetMintonArtist.com. Very easy to go to. And there's links where you can go buy t-shirts because I use a third party for the t-shirts. There's my Etsy store, which is mainly my coloring books and some of my prints. I have not been good about updating which cons I'm going to be at, so I have to do that. And then you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Chet Minton Artist in the search, and 99% chance it'll come right up.
Can I get you on MySpace, Friendster,
Yeah.
AOL?
No.
Hey, real quick, just you mentioned the coloring books, and that I just want to just highlight that real quick because that
Sure.
seems to be one of your big sellers, right? That's one people love. They see those and they go kind of nuts.
When
over
I
them.
made my transition into not working for the man, I had to abruptly leave my job to do end of life care and be a care provider for both my parents, and it was sudden. So I had already been doing freelance illustration and stuff here and there. So I had to do a serious thing, and somebody just said, "Hey, why don't you do a coloring book? It's just black and white pictures, and you can probably bang those out really quickly." And with the ease of today and my knowledge of printing and self-publishing, I put one out, and man, did it do well. And then
Dude, that's awesome.
I learned a lot. That a lot of people buy single pages that they want to download and print out on their own paper.
Nice.
And so yeah, I
People
would
love
sell them for
coloring books.
$1.
It's a great way to, when everybody's working remote and you're in a boring meeting, the coloring book can save your sanity.
Yeah, it's also
This could have
I
been
know
an
some
email.
people do stuff like that for therapy, right? Like, as their own personal, just like I just need to like not think about my fucking problems for 5 seconds,
Yeah.
and I'll sit down and just something nice and simple, just color a thing in,
And then 5-6 hours goes by, or
Yeah.
And
I think I need to get a coloring
that.
book. That's what I need. I
the
need a
great
coloring
thing is that with remote work, at least in our work, we use Teams, which does an amazing job of blocking out any sounds that are not speech. So as somebody with ADHD, I'm always fidgeting with something. So dice or something, I'm always sitting there just like rolling the dice around in my hands. So that's another thing to save you through the boring meetings. So let's go over.
That's a nice segue.
Yeah.
Look at me, master the segue. So
Yeah.
Craig, the Kickstarter is still going on. What can people get on the Kickstarter? What's out there? How much time is left? How do they get in on it?
It ends. I'll start with when the time is left. I believe it ends on July 1st. Yeah, July 1st. What can you get on it? What the Kickstarter is for the 3 new calendars, which I think are filled with amazing dice. There's always more dice in them, and the number of chambers. And the themes are really strong this year. It's just cool stuff. If we get high enough, I think we're going to fund probably tomorrow. Fingers crossed. If we get to our first and only stretch goal, you get a free dice bag. And you just got to see our dice bags. They're highly thematic, and there's one new design for each theme. I mean, wouldn't you want Mr. Wriggles, the Death Wizard's pet undead cat, on your dice bag? I mean, it's so cool. So stuff like this. But and of course, there's a myriad of add-ons, and we did a special wooden tray for our kitty clacks on this one.
And this one is out now?
It's the Kickstarter is live right now.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, and the backers, we always Kickstarter isn't where we try to make money. It's where we try and fund production runs. So they're pretty tight for us. But we always try and give our backers the best value that we can possibly give on these products until they go into standard retail, right? Our MSRP. So we really do try and take care of our backers and put freebies in and stuff like this. So we'd be proud to earn any new backers out there. We truly are a word of mouth company. And we just have grown through being really focused on customer experience and trying to be good and give them good positive experience on Kickstarter. I think there's like 32 or 33 for us Kickstarter. So yeah, most of them are very small, right? So like, oh, $1,800, but it still counts. It still counts. I'm taking that. It's a win, baby. It's a win, baby. But yeah, and anybody can just find us by searching Black Oak.
If the cats do well, you can do a cat vent dice.
Oh, I see what you did there, Chet.
Our cats, they love dice. So the advent calendar, when we open it up, they get the first rolls.
That's awesome. And I also want to say, hey, thanks for inviting me on. I've never done anything like this. I think it's super cool. I'm super proud that you like the space race. It makes me feel really good. I loved that project years ago. So so just want to say thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so so just search for Black Oak Workshop, and you'll find the dice and the Kickstarter. And search for Chet Minton Artist, and you'll find Chet Minton's art. And search for Top Secret. Just go to topsecretrpg.com. There, I just plugged ourselves. And get all our good stuff.
Dude,
and by the way, just for both of you, we are very happy. We finally got ourselves back on Amazon. So we're gonna. I just got the message today that Amazon received 500 copies of the board game of the box set. So those will be up there soon. And they also actually some great things for anybody, for Craig, for Chet, for anybody who's a creator. Amazon has a brand protection program where you can actually get your trademarks protected so that nobody can rip you off on there. So
if anybody else tries to steal your thing on Amazon goes after them for you.
Shut it down.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really just, I know some of the people that listen to the show are also creators. So we're going to be in the Discord after this, which is for the Patreon members, and happy to talk about that because we worked our way through it. And I think that's a big plus for everybody. So,
I did want to mention something. So Craig, you said that there are 3 dice sets in the advent calendar.
In the standard size, so out of the 3 we do, say your Christmas calendar has 24 chambers, right? That's 3 7 dice sets, then some singles. And we always put in like.
But you know what's important about that?
What?
How many sets of dice need to play Top Secret there, Jason?
You need a lot.
We need 3 sets.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a conversation.
This is good. This is perfect for Top Secret. This advent calendar is an excellent tool for all you Top Secret players out there.
Now the big Halloween calendars have 4 sets plus singles because 31 chambers. But hey, I'm liking what you're saying there.
And then you figure out how to have a minivan in there as well. On the
the trifecta. Awesome.
An advent calendar filled with Hot Wheels.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on a podcast, I don't know, give us a review or stalk us in real life and stand outside our windows at night with a boombox, whatever you need to do. Just tell somebody. And
stalk us.
Don't do that. Thank you, Craig and Chet, for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it. And if you're a Patreon backer, you can join us in the Discord after this. And we'll see you next week.
All right. See y'all.
Thank you, everyone.